fallen from heaven, Lucifer, son of the morning. You shall be brought down to hell, to the depths of the pit, and all who gaze upon you will wonder, is this the man that made the nations tremble? The Dark Prince, when the devil has his day.
A hearty shalom to all of you. Jeffrey Seif here with Zola Levitt Presents, and I am thrilled that you have tuned us in. Today we're going to look at the devil in this series when the devil has his day. We're not trying to be his PR people, but we're looking at the Bible. We note, by the way, that the devil struck in Eden. He struck in Gethsemane. He has a thing for gardens. We're going to look at that story today in this series, and we're going to hear from our friend Paul Wilbur again as he lifts our hearts in praise.
And with Judas came a crowd, armed with swords and clubs. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal. The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him and lead him away under guard. The betrayer, the spirit of Antichrist, lingering in shadows yet today, revels but for a season.
When individuals read the New Testament, they're introduced to a number of things and a number of people, a number of places. This one being but one. The Decapolis is a term that New Testament readers are introduced to speak of 10 cities in Israel, Greek cities. And here I'm coming to you from the largest of them, Bet Shean, a massive facility here, a major city in a network of Greek cities. And you can tell it's so very Greek, by the way, and so very Latinized, Romanized, as you look around here in this great theater where people were given to giving plays. Actors adorned this stage to take on roles that were not their own by nature, but were their own by assignment. And even now, as I make my way around this site, workers are busying themselves to prepare for the plethora of pilgrims who visit this place and places all around Israel to this very day. And it's from this place where people were giving to acting. I want to talk to you about some of the worst acting in human experience. In this series, we're looking at when the devil had his day. And the gospel writers tell us that the devil had entered into the person of Judas Iscariot, with the net result then that he was given over to doing the devil's bidding. And what did he do? In Luke chapter 22, we're told that he betrayed Jesus. In verse 3, Satan entered Judas, and so driven then that this Judas went his way and conferred with individuals how they might betray Jesus to them. When we consider the person, the devil, and his work, it seems to me that betrayal and deceit are some of the tools in his box, and he uses them often, and he uses them well. In fact, even in medieval Europe, the story Dante's Inferno was a classic that said in the lowest and the lowest part of hell was a place reserved for the likes of Judas Iscariot and the ilk that betrays. I don't know what you think of when you hear the story of Judas Iscariot and when you hear the word betrayal. But I do know from personal experience that it's beyond just mere disappointment, and that is, it really, really, really hurts when someone within our inner world puts a dagger to our throat, or worse yet, a knife in our back, we don't even see it coming. Well, Judas saw this coming. He could feel the fermenting discontent within him. Complicated as he is, I don't claim to understand him. Jesus saw it coming. And I know that as we continue our story on this dark prince and consider wickedness, you'll see more coming as we look at the devil and his ways.
Behold a white horse, and its rider held a bow, and a crown was given unto him. This, the image of an impending apocalypse, as pictured by John in the book of Revelation. This rider, a princely sort, a deceiver and counterfeit. And evil went forth conquering and to conquer.
I think that if someone's in a sword fight, they're probably going to know it. Difference between a sword fight and getting shot by an arrow is you might not see the arrow coming. I mention that because it's like that with betrayal. You don't see it coming. When I open up the Bible, I see some things coming, however, and they're not very good looking. In the 6th chapter of the book of Revelation, we have these apocalyptic horsemen. These horses are let loose out of the stable, and they bring with them miseries beyond comprehension at one level. In chapter 6, verse 2, there's a white horse that comes, and the arrival of this one is typified by conquest. I don't know if you've ever been overrun, if you've ever been conquered before, but it seems that when the devil has his day, conquering is on the menu. Similarly, in verses 3 and 4, this fiery red horse comes forth, and this one takes peace from the earth in verse 4, and is bent on stimulating people to kill, not just to conquer. And we're told that given this rider is this terribly great sword, and he unleashes it from its sheath, and he does what he does. Similarly then in verses 5 and 6, there's another horse that comes, and the rider is holding scales. And the language here is interesting. It seems to hearken to an economy gone bad. That there's mention here of food staples purchased by X amount of money, going back to an ancient system in Jesus' day. This rider goes forth and calls forth earning power for various staple goods. And again, this reminds me of having the economy in the clutches, in his grips. We're looking here at a world gone bad. We're looking here at forces being unleashed on the planet. And it really is something to behold. Quite frankly, it's not an easy story to tell. As I read on through it in verses 7 and 8, there's this other pale horse that comes, and sat on it was someone named Death. We're told, and the name of him who sat on it was Death. You know, people have names. There's Grace, there's Charity, but Death. And Hades followed him, and power was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with the sword, with hunger, with death, and by beasts of the earth. When I read the biblical accounting, it seems to me here that this is a world gone wild. This is a world gone bad. This isn't just the wild, wild west. It's not like there's a civilized part of the world and then there's the frontier where things are out of hand. This is a world, in fact, where things are out of hand. And what's interesting is, even though it's out of hand at one level, it really isn't. And the reason why I say that is, represented in the literature is that God releases this stuff upon the planet. And why is that? He's pushing it. He's pushing it. The devil, who's the ruler of this world, arguably has a better toehold in it as he's pressing. The argument is the church has been removed from it. The rapture is something that belongs to the past at this juncture. And untold miseries are let loose, pushing to the brink. That's the bad news. And it's described as one reads on through the chapter where people are just praying for death, wanting the mountains, just fall on me. Can you end this thing? Oh, it's a horrible season in human experience in this day when the devil has his day. Revelation is an interesting book. It talks about a world that's spiraling into decay and to despair. And were I to leave you there, it would be a horrible story. There is a silver lining in this cloud. What happens is these pressures are being used to turn people Godward, and He is going to come soon. And so even in this world, people can look up because the redemption draweth nigh.
A deceiver and counterfeit, and evil went forth conquering and to conquer. Ever diligent, the dark demonic system of the underworld commands the forces of an insidious army. And the number of the army was 200 million. Fire, smoke, brimstone. By these, 1/3 of mankind was killed.
I've walked among the dead before, and I can tell you it's not a happy experience. As a police officer, I've been among the dead. As a police detective, I've walked ever so gingerly around crime scenes. And as a chaplain, I've had opportunity to deal with death, suicide, and the aftermath. And it's all very gut-wrenching. You never get used to it. I could say that beyond what most preachers experience, when I look back over my shoulder, I can say that I've had to deal with death. But I want to let you know that nothing that I experienced or you or anybody could experience can prepare us for what John is envisioning here in the book of Revelation. He sees a world ablaze. He, in the 9th chapter of Revelation, talks about trumpet blasts heralding devastation of cosmic proportions unleashed upon an earth that's already wearied with its affairs. And the net result is death and carnage in various ways. And in this particular story, the devil has his day, and I say that, it's not just some cute series title. The Lord is on record saying that the nature of the devil is to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And he's full throttle here in the book of Revelation. He's just not being sheepish. He's just giving vent to what he's all about. And here this destruction expresses itself in the apocalyptic vision of an angel here, unleashing these forces marshaled from the Euphrates. And John is shocked by what he sees. You know, I said nothing prepared me for this death story. John, nothing prepared him for it. He has to kind of apologize for it, or not apologize, but to qualify, to forcefully say, listen, I'm just telling you what I saw. Well, let me tell you what he saw. He, in chapter 9, verse 14, these angels are told to release these forces bound at the Euphrates. In verse 15, that are going to go forth and kill, are you ready for this? 1/3 of you mankind. And as for those forces vested with authorization to wreak that havoc, we're told, the number of the army of horsemen was 200 million. Now, John didn't have a framework to work with those numbers. Reminds me of what I think and feel when I consider the economy and trillions of dollars. What, there even was such a thing as a trillion? For me, money comes into the house, I pay the bills and put a little in the bank. I'm not used to such vast sums. It's like the Lord is speaking to him, 200 million. Now rewind the tape back, 2,000 years ago. The earth wasn't that populated. 200 million. And then John says, listen, I heard that number. I don't want to spend time being cute about the number and the experience and distract focus from what we're looking at here, and that is a world that's right at the edge. It seems to me that when the devil has his day, that the Lord allows the earth to be pushed right to the brink. And even then, in that state, it's interesting, we're told in verses 20 and 21, and people didn't repent. It seems to me that pushed to the brink, as many would have been, there's an opportunity there to look inward and upward, be honest about sins, and reach up to God and get forgiveness for it. But tragically, they're so hardened in their miseries, they're not given to that kind of business. May it be that me and you always forever remain sensitive as we look up to God, believing that difficulties notwithstanding, that redemption draweth nigh.
I've heard it said that one old friend is better than 20 new ones. I don't know how to rate it, but here I am with my old friend, Paul Wilbur.
We do go back a few years. You know, I have a wonderful T-shirt that I love from a certain motorcycle company that says, "Old friends are still the best," so you're good.
Listen, you have spent years and years on the road as a minister of music. You're a contemporary praise artist. You sing a lot of songs. Behold, He Comes, Riding on the Clouds. Can you talk about that one?
It's called Days of Elijah.
Yeah.
A lot of people think I wrote it because I introduced it on the recording we did live in Jerusalem back in 1977. But it was actually downloaded to a 58-year-old professor type that you can relate to, certainly, worship leader at a small church in Belfast, Ireland, who really thought, you know, this is my life, this is what I'm going to do with it. But he spent so much time in the presence of God. One day the Lord just wanted to bless him with this special song.
So how did you pick it up? How did a guy like you here, I mean, that's a guy that's not well known. Here's Paul Wilbur picks it up.
Well, it came to me, he sent it actually as a demo to Integrity Music. But because Americans love country music, the demo he sent was doom dunka doom dunka. It was a country, behold he comes do. But so not all Americans love country music. And so we picked it up and tried it with a different style, and it's been around the world. I've re-recorded it in 3 languages. It's just one of those songs that talks about the return of the Lord that everybody sings standing on the chairs still 10 years later. It's one of those most popular anointed songs.
Yeah, that was one of those songs when I loved it, when I first heard it, when I first heard you do it. It just resonated as an all-time favorite.
Wonderful.
Behold, He Comes. Paul sings about it. Others talk about it, and now we hear from someone who's going to be with him. The late Zola Levitt weighs in on the second coming of Jesus.
The second coming of the Lord is the start of the kingdom to come, and we come back with him. It says, we that are with him in the scripture. That is the whole church that went to heaven in the rapture. We return with the Lord. We're an army this time. Here's another case where we're soldiers in an army. The Lord rides in on a white horse with a vesture, with a garment that says King of Kings, Lord of Lords on the thigh of the garment. Why on the thigh? Well, he's on a horseback wearing a Jewish prayer shawl, so the writing on the prayer shawl is down on the thigh, and that would be at eye level for a man on horseback. So it's clear who he is. Nobody can say they didn't see who he is. In fact, all Israel will see who he is, because it says in Zechariah 12:10, they shall look upon me whom they've pierced and mourn for him as for an only son, and a fount of cleansing will be opened to the house of David. Israel will be saved when he comes. Romans 11:26, Paul corroborates with the verse, all Israel will be saved when the deliverer shall come out of Zion. So in the end, the surviving Jews at the end of the tribulation will look upon him and be saved. But that's all any of us need to do, is look upon him and we're saved, know that he is Messiah, and that's what they will do at that time.
Seems to me, Paul, that God is even working during the tribulation period to bring people to him. It's all about bringing people to him, isn't it?
It is. And these songs, these praise and worship songs that we've been hearing during our times together, you know, it just occurs to me, Jeff, that these are not children's bedtime stories. These are not just words on a page. We are singing to a living God. the same God that Elijah spoke to on top of Mount Carmel, where you and I stood just a few weeks back, who spoke to a living God, fire falls from heaven. These are not sticks and stones with no ears and no eyes, without salvation that can't reach us. But we've come to Mount Zion. We've come to a living God. We are singing living songs to a living Messiah who is coming back to take us to be with him, to live with him forever. These are true things that we can hope and enjoy and look towards with a certainty.
Yes, they are. And you heard what the man said, a living God. And the Spirit and the bride say, come to that God. Thanks for coming to us and watching. And as you go, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Also, please call toll-free or write to receive our monthly newsletter, The Levitt Letter. It's absolutely free and contains insightful articles and news commentary with a refreshing perspective you won't get from mainstream media. The Levitt Letter is also available at levitt.com, along with current and archived TV programs, our national airing schedule, and much more. Please remember, Zola Levitt Ministries depends on tax-deductible donations from viewers like you. This has been a paid program brought to you by Zola Levitt Ministries.